Hi, everybody. So I want to show you what we're going to be doing for fourth grade music today. It's a little bit of an untraditional music project for today because we're actually going to be starting to write a play, which will eventually have some music as a part of it. Okay. So we're going to look at fractured fairy tales today. So think about what that could mean, a fractured fairy tale. A fractured fairy tale is when you take a fairy tale that like Little Red Riding Hood or The Three Little Pigs, The Princess and the Pea, Hansel and Gretel. There's all kinds of fairy tales out there that most of you are already familiar with. So you're going to pick just one, and then you're going to do some things to make it different. And everybody is going to get one of these worksheets, and we're going to go through that now. But this graphic that you see over here, how to fracture a fairy tale, that's part of what this worksheet is all about. Just giving you some space and some time to write out all that information. So I'm going to go through that now. So first of all, our first question on our worksheet is going to be, what fairy tale are you changing? So right there, you're going to write what fairy tale you're changing. And then the next question says, who are the characters? So you're going to write down your character. So if you picked Little Red Riding Hood, who is in Little Red Riding Hood? You've got Little Red Riding Hood, you've got her mom, the grandmother, the wolf, the woodcutter. Those are the characters in the traditional story of Little Red Riding Hood. But you're going to think about changing those characters. So maybe you have more modern characters. Maybe instead of a wolf, you want to use a boa constrictor because your story is going to take place in the jungle. So think about what your characters are going to look like for this fairy tale and how you're going to make it a little different. So the next part you're going to fill out on your paper is the setting. Where does your fairy tale take place? So that's going to relate to your characters, right? Like I said, if you have the Little Red Riding Hood, but it's set in a jungle, and you have a boa constrictor instead of a wolf, then where it says, where does your fairy tale take place, you're going to put the jungle. So you can think of any kind of setting, any place that you want for your fairy tale to happen. Okay. So the next part says, what is the conflict in your story? So the conflict is like the exciting action part of the story, like when there's a problem to solve. Okay. So like in the three little pigs have to solve the problem of the wolf wanting to blow their houses down. So how do they solve that problem? They each build their own house, but some of them don't work. Okay, they solve the problem or they deal with the conflict by trying to build houses, but some of them the wolf can blow down, so they have to keep running to their brother's house in that traditional story. So think about the conflict in the fairy tale. Think about the action, what's happening, what's the problem in your fairy tale, and think about how you're going to change that and make it different in your fractured fairy tale. Okay. So the next part you're going to fill out. It says, how will you change the story? So that goes along with number 4 over here, change the plot. That's highlighted in yellow on that graphic. So you're going to want to change the story in some way in your fairy tale. It's not going to be exactly the same. It's going to have some elements that are the same because we still want to know that it relates to that original fairy tale, but you're going to make yours a little different. Okay. So how are you going to change the story? That's the next part you can write over here. The part after that says, what is the ending? Okay, what is the ending for your story? So maybe your story has a totally different ending. Little Red Riding Hood, the traditional story, ends with the woodcutter coming and chopping open the wolf and the grandmother popping out. So maybe you want to change that. Maybe you want to say that the woodcutter comes in and he, finds the grandmother talking to the wolf and discussing how the wolf is really hungry and wanted to share some of those treats with Little Red Riding Hood. So you could have a different ending to your story. You could work it out in a different way. The next one, number 6, who is telling the story? Think about the point of view. So if we think about the 3 little pigs, it's told from the point of view of the pigs, right? They're the ones who are telling what's happening to them. But what if you told that story through the eyes of the wolf? Would the wolf have the same point of view as the pigs? Would the wolf see things the same way? Maybe the wolf has reasons for what he's doing. So think about that in your story, okay? The last one, create a mix and match. Down here, are you mixing up any characters? If so, which ones? So you could mix and match some characters from different stories if you wanted to. You don't have to do that. But let's say you wanted to kind of combine like Little Red Riding Hood and the 3 Little Pigs. So how would those stories intersect? How would they combine? How can you kind of mix them up a little bit? So that's what you're going to be working on today. I know you're going to do a little brainstorming with, I think it'll be with Miss Isidoro. So hi, Miss Isidoro, if it's you. I think it'll be with Miss Isidoro. You're going to brainstorm some fairy tales. You're going to think of all the fairy tales you can think of. And then you're going to get to work on your worksheet, okay? Creating your own fairy tale. And what was I going to say? So you can kind of imagine that this could be something we would act out at school at some point, not today, because I'm not there today. And you guys are just starting to write your stories. So think about that for another time. It's okay if people want to do the same story, because you're all going to be changing it in your own way. So if there's 2 or 3 people who wind up doing 3 Little Pigs, that's fine. Just change it, because everybody should have a different idea for how they change it. If you finish all of your writing on the worksheet, you can turn one of these pages over and you can do an illustration of your fairy tale and show how it's different from the traditional fairy tale. I'm super excited about these and I can't wait to work on those and add some music to them in the future and practice acting them out. For today, your job is to work on your worksheet and just independently come up with your own fairy tale. Later on, we'll be working in groups and kind of collaborating on some of these. But for today, you're working independently. Have a great time. I'm so sorry I can't be there. I'll miss all of you guys, but I know you'll have a great class, and I can't wait to see what you do next week. All right. So